This morning, I got a lot of wind. Ever since yesterday, about yesterday afternoon, we just had some massive amount of wind. I think it says 45 miles an hour or something. There is a massive amount of wind, and I'm actually I have a an animal that is sick. I've had that animal that was in the isolation space by themselves, and that animal is still sick, which is kind of surprising to me because I didn't think that the animal was that sick. I thought the animal was just a little not feeling good, but the animal is actually very sick or something going on because the animal's still not okay. And so I figured today what I could do is I would go over the antibiotics program that I have these animals on, the antibiotics that I use, and why do I use them, and this was actually done with the suggestion from the vets. So I did not come up with this. I did not come up with this whole. The vet suggested that I do this, and then I looked into the different antibiotics, and this is ultimately what I do in terms of my personal the antibiotics program that I have that I have these animals on. And I was reading a paper yesterday on different antibiotics, on cattle antibiotics, and I'll link that paper in the description. If y'all want to just read what I was reading, it's just kind of interesting stuff. I was just reading stuff on cattle antibiotics. So I just felt like I wanted to see the different modes of action for these different antibiotics, just because I felt like it would be interesting. And so I'll link that paper in the description. But this Zactran, this gamethromycin, I give these animals a metaphylaxis dose of Zactran when they first get here, and that is done via the suggestion from the veterinarian. Okay, I did not just decide to give all my animals antibiotics. I give when they first get here from the sale barn, I give them all a shot of this gamethromycin, this Zactran. I give them all a shot of this, and that was actually recommended that I do that by the veterinarian. So I'm not suggesting anybody do that. I'm saying when I talked to the veterinarian and I explained, I told him what I do. Right, I bring home high risk stocker cattle from the sale barn, and that's what I do. He suggested that I give them all a shot of gamethromycin, and so I do that when they first get here. And then if the animals ever get sick after this, right? So like this is a very good example. The animal that I have when he first got here a month ago, when he first got here, I gave him a shot of it was either this or macrocin, but I'm out of macrocin too. So it was some kind of a macrolide. It was either Zactran or a macrocin, which are both the same mode of action from my understanding. And so I give them all a shot of this when they first get here, and if they ever get sick after that, I will give them this enrofloxacin. And usually, one of these two will fix them up. Almost always, one of these two will fix them up. Zactran almost works like 90% of the time, or something like that. Zactran works very well. This enrofloxacin is what I use if the animal after I use gamethromycin, if the animal develops some kind of an illness, I'll give them a shot of this enrofloxacin. And if all else fails, if I've used both of these and they've both failed, then I'll go to fluorophenical. So that's ultimately what I've done as of right now, is that I gave this shot an animal, or I gave this animal a shot of fluorophenical yesterday. And so I gave him a shot of fluorophenical because when they first got here, I gave him something like this. It was either Zactran or it was macrocin. I gave him one or the other, and then I gave him a shot of enrofloxacin, and the animal's still not feeling good 3 or 4 days later. So I gave them a shot of fluorophenical. I gave them a full dose of fluorophenical, and if if you have about 2 minutes to read a paper, I would suggest that you go and read the paper. And if you take a look at this right here, if you take a look at the dosing chart for the animal, you're going to see that it's a low estimate and a high estimate, depending on what the weight of the animal is. And if you have a moment to read the paper, take some time to read the paper, and it's gonna say, it's gonna give you some information on what happens if you give the animal a minimal dose. And if you give the animal a maximum dose, it'll give you an idea of how the antibiotics work. And so when you have an animal and you're giving them antibiotics, you don't want to overdose them severely, but you don't want to underdose them severely either. All right, you really want to make sure that you have a good idea of what the animal weighs, and you want to give them a hefty dose. So if I thought that the animal weighed 300 pounds, and so I gave him well, I was like, the animal weighs about 275. All right, the animal weighs about 275. And so I was looking at this and it said, 200 goes up to 11 and 300 goes up to 10 and a half. And so the animal weighs about 275. And so I gave the animal 10 milliliters. All right, the animal weighs about 275, and if you take a look at this, it says the control's 10 and a half, and and for 200 is 7. And so I was like, the animal is somewhere on the upper end of 200, so I gave and I was taking a look at this, and I gave the animal 10 milliliters. I believe the animal weighs about 275, so I gave him 10 milliliters. And so, you want to go on the higher end, okay? You don't want to overdose the animal. You want to stay within the reasonable range, but, and also understand that this dosage, it's for 300 up to, somewhere between 300 and 400. So if you think the animal weighs, 375, maybe consider giving them like 15. All right, if the animal weighs 400, you can still give them about 15. All right, so, depending on the weight range, right? Like the weight is going up by 100. And so I thought the animal weighed about 275. And so I gave them a hefty dose. I gave them towards the upper limit of the dose therapy, the single dose therapy. I gave them 10. And so, you want to make sure that when you give the animals antibiotics, you don't want to underdose the antibiotics, okay? And I do have the animals still separated. I put them in the preconditioning pen by himself because the weather's really good. And the grass is actually at a point right now where the animals can eat the grass and they're not going to bloat on it. The grass has grown in enough to where the animals are not going to bloat on it. And so I just let all the animals out on the grass and they're eating the grass and they're not bloating or anything. So that's very good for me because, now I don't really have to worry about anything. I just give them some grain. I just leave them on the grass and I don't have to worry about them bloating to death or anything like that. And tomorrow, I was originally anticipating taking animals over to the new field tomorrow, but I may just do it on Sunday. I might just take all day Sunday and take 10 or 15 animals over to the new field on Sunday. Because tomorrow I feel like I'd just be hard pressed for time. I'd have to wake up and then get all the animals on the trailer and then take them there and then come back and then get ready for work and then. So I figured I'll just do it on Sunday. I'll just do it on Sunday. I was thinking about doing it tomorrow. But I'll start loading up the animals and taking them over to the new field on Sunday. Maybe tomorrow morning. I still got that animal over in the sick pen, but maybe tomorrow morning, what I'll do is I'll take some of the smaller calves over to the veterinarian, and I also got to fix up my trailer. One of the trailer tires has a flat. I think I got something wrong with one of the tires, so I got to fix up the tires. So maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow morning. That sounds like a good idea. And so when I take a look at my whole situation, I would actually anticipate that I'm going to be doubling my income in about the next 4 months. And I didn't really get myself a whole lot of time by finding this lease property. I didn't really get myself a whole lot of time. And the big idea for me is to still continue to grow my business. And I'm still looking into buying my own land. All right, I'm still looking into buying my own land. My big interest, what I'm looking to do right now is to buy my own land and grow my business even more. And the big idea is that when I take a look at it, like when I just look at the information and just consider it for what it is, sometime between now and the next 365 days, I actually anticipate that I will cross the $1 million a year revenue mark. And the cool thing about my situation is that I don't have anybody that I've hired, right? I've considered maybe I don't have any full-time employees, right? I don't have to pay anybody except for me. And my business effectively revolves entirely around trading commodities. And commodities is a global market that is effectively stabilized by the global market. It is a massive market. It's not just something that it's not some widget, right? It's not like some gizmo, right? The feeder cattle are effectively a global commodity. It's stabilized by a massive sum of equity. There is a massive market. Commodities are a massive market, and it just is what it is. And so my business revolves entirely around commodities, trading commodities. Effectively, I'm a commodity trader, and I appreciate the value of the commodities by knowledgeably appreciating, right. I do my part, and I appreciate the value of those commodities, and then I return them to the market, right. That's the big idea. And so, the whole situation with me is that I effectively trade commodities, right? Effectively, all of my assets are cash equivalents. Granted that I do my part and actually, appraise the animal properly, et cetera, right? Granted that I do my part and actually appraise the assets, appropriately, and I have an understanding of what I'm doing. Granted that I do these things, it's all, it's whatever, right? It's effectively, my assets are effectively a cash equivalent. For me to really understand exactly, if you really want to have an understanding of how much money do I make, we would have to honestly think about liquidating, if we're really going to talk about cash in terms of how much cash do I make, right? How much cash do I net positive a year? Which is kind of a stupid, it's borderline moronic. I don't care. In all honesty, the reason I don't care is because I am 100% positive, right? This is not some debatable thing. I am in the net positive. I am in the net positive. I am drastically in the net positive. It doesn't cost me anything. I don't care. All right. It doesn't cost me anything. It makes me money. I don't care. All right. The money that I need comes from out the business, and I have a substantial amount of money left over, right? It doesn't matter to me. That's how much it costs me. It doesn't matter. It makes me money. All right, that's the ultimate conclusion, right? That's the big conclusion when it comes to money. But if I was gonna sit here and think about how much cash do I make every year, right? Which is kind of moronic, but I guess if we thought about what if I liquidate all of my animals, within about 3 months I'll have 60 animals, and those 60 animals will have effectively doubled in value over the next 6 months. And so it's like, I have whatever, right? I have 120, right? I have 120 cattle, and it's right. I don't. It's very difficult to pinpoint exactly how much money I make. It's a lot, okay? I make a lot. I don't know exactly how much I make. I make a lot. All right, I make a lot. I have 60, and then by the end of the year I have 120. So that's 180 cattle for the year. And I don't know, right? I don't know. That's 180 cattle for the year, and then I gotta talk about I don't know the appreciation value of those cattle and how much they appreciated. It's a very it's very I don't know how much money I make. I don't. All right, I make a lot. I make a lot, and it's going up. That's how much money I make. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a massive excess. All right, I don't know how much money I make. I don't. I make a lot, and it's going up. Okay, and so one of my big plans right now is I'm looking to buy my own land. Right, I'm looking to take my earnings and leverage them for more land. Right, I'm looking to buy more land. Right, I'm looking to buy more land, and even with this lease property, I really got myself maybe a 3 to 4 month window of opportunity, and then after that, I'm going to be sitting in a situation where I need to expand. I need to buy more land, and so like this property that I'm on right now, the 10.5 acre field. In all honesty, if I just went and bought like a self feeder, I called the company a local company that makes these self feeders, and I just fill them up with feed. They're solar powered, and you can use a little timer, and there's a little timer on the machine, and if you just adjust the timer, it will drop a certain amount of feed according to the timing window. So if you want it to drop feed twice a day, and you want it to drop feed for 3 seconds, you can just set the timer and walk away. It will run on solar power, and it will just feed the animals for me. So I just have to fill the feeder up, and then I'm good to go. And so I was like, you know what, I can do that. And if I do that and I leave whatever 20 cattle here, then this property, I'm not worried about the property, because the property is going to positive cash flow. It doesn't matter to me. All right, it doesn't matter that the property costs me $1,200 a month. It doesn't matter, all right, because the money that I need to pay for the property is being made by the property. It doesn't matter to me, And at the end of the day, the land is equitable, and it's whatever to me. I can just go and buy a self feeder, leave it here, fill it up, once every whatever, right? Fill it up once every 2 weeks or something, or. And then I can just once every 2 weeks or so, I can just fill it up, and then I can just leave, and then I can come back and then fill it up and leave, and then grow the grass. And if I have less grass, I'll just set the timer to drop more feed. Right? Very simple. It's very simple, and if I do that, the property will cash flow. It will make me a positive return, and I don't have to sell the property to access the equity. I can just go to the bank and take a line of credit against it. Right? Very simple, not difficult. It's very easy. I can just take a line of credit against the equity of the property. The property will pay for itself, because I have a self feeder here, and I have enough cattle here that and the feeder will take care of the cattle for me. And then I can just come by every 2 weeks or so and just make sure the feeder is full with food, and then just that's it. And make sure the cattle are doing okay, and then I can just go off and whatever, right? And then I can just grow the grass here, and and just whatever, right? And then I can just go to a different go and do something else. Work on a bigger farm, right? So, it's very easy. That's the big idea. That's something I got planned right now. I'm going to buy a self feeder. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to fill it up, and then I'm just going to have the, enough animals here to pay for the debt service. I'm going to leverage against the equity on the property, and then that will give me access to the money. And then I got this new property. By Sunday, I'll probably be taking about 10 to 15 animals over to that new property. That's going to clear up a lot of space on this field. I already have net excess cash. I'm actually sitting on cash right now, which I don't really want to be in this situation, but I got a lot of things that I need to get done. And once I get them done, I can reinvest the cash, right? I can reinvest the money that I brought home, the last week. And so, and also here in less than 2 weeks, I need to liquidate 4 steers, and I'm going to make more money. And then I'm going to end up bringing home more animals, and, et cetera, right? There's a lot of moving parts. The business is definitely growing. I would actually say that my business is going to have doubled in size within about 3 or 4 months. And then after that, I'll need to effectively buy myself my own piece of land. That's the big idea, is to buy myself my own piece of land. And I'm going to grow my business even more. That's the big idea. And as of right now, I'm looking into buying better equipment. I'm looking into buying a self feeder for the animals. If I buy a self feeder, that opens up new opportunities for me. I don't have to be here to feed the animals. I can go and work on on my bigger field, and I don't have to worry about it. And this property has equity. I can access that equity without liquidating the property via a line of credit. Very simple, right? I'm going to use that line of credit instead of liquidating the property. So that's very simple, very simple. It's going to make I'm going to make a lot of money. All right. And right now, with my financials as they are right now, I probably have a net excess of about $10,000 a month. Okay. I probably do have a net excess of $10,000 a month. I guess cash and cash equivalents are appreciating by about $10,000 a month. Every month that goes by, I probably I would estimate that it's about 10 grand. 10 grand is a very reasonable estimate. The net assets and my cash and cash equivalents are effectively going up by about $10,000 a month, which is cool, right? It's cool, and it's like, oh, that's cool. I have $10,000 a month left over. I've paid for everything, and I have $10,000 a month left over. That's cool, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, if I took that 10 grand a month and I liquidated, and I just held on to the cash, I would be taxed like 30 grand. Okay, I would be taxed like 25 grand, and then I would have like 80 grand. And in all honesty, 80 grand a year is, it's nice, right? Okay. And here's a very realistic way to put it. In terms of a fundamental sense, in terms of like a broader money reality, I mean, like let's just take my situation for example. I probably make somewhere around I don't know, maybe about I don't know. All right, and I would actually say that 120 grand might be a little low. 10 grand, and this is what I was saying that and this is what I was saying. This is what I was saying. $10,000 a month might be a little low. All right, because even right now, it's like I'm liquidating animals, and look at the situation that I'm in right now, right? I mean, even right now, I'm kind of in a pickle because I have too much money left over, right? I mean, even right now, even right now, like when I liquidate my animals, I liquidate about 7 animals a month. I still have about 25 animals left over. Those 25 animals are still going up in value. I mean, and I don't even, but $10,000 a month is very low. Okay, like even right now, even just as it is right now, think about the financials as it is right now. I've always said money's not an opinion. Nobody cares about an opinion. I mean, take your opinion to the bank, see what happens, have fun. All right, money is not an opinion. All right, nobody cares about an opinion, especially not me. And I know that that might sound like a horrible, but whatever. But if you're gonna be an idiot and you're gonna be a poor moron, die a poor moron by yourself. Trust me, I'm not gonna be the one who cares. I'm the one with the money. All right, I'm the one who knows how to make the money, and the amount of money that I'm making is actually going up every single month as of today. And it's been going up for a long time, for several years, 3 years. All right, the amount of money that I'm making has been going up. In terms of an annual, in terms of a yearly sense, the amount of money that I am making every year has been going up. That is a statement of a fact. All right, money is not debatable. Money's not an opinion. Nobody cares about an opinion. Money is a fact. You look at it and it's a number. Is that number higher than it was last year? Yes. Then that's good, right? Your business is growing. Congratulations. That's a fact. It's not debatable. It's not an opinion, right? Nobody cares about an opinion. If you have a bunch of opinions, and you have no money, number one, you're probably an idiot. All right, and you're going to die poor, and it's sad. Because at the end of the day, if you are born average, you have the capacity to turn yourself into effectively, you could become a genius at anything. All right, but chances are, and I talk about the decision-making process. If you go and you talk to somebody and their decision-making process, you can determine what their decision-making process is very quickly. How did you come up with this information? How did you come up with this decision? Right? Oh, well, I read a book. I collected my own information. I live where I work. Right? This is objective information. This is from the data that I collected. Right? It is what it is. If that's how you came up with the decision, that's very good. If your decision-making process is everything's impossible and the world is unfair and I fell out of heaven a 7 and that is why I made this decision, then you're boned. You're cooked, right? That's what they say. You're cooked. You're legitimately, you're done forever. You're going to die poor. And it's sad. All right. Your decision-making process is effectively how you're going to handle everything. Everything. It doesn't matter. All right. Why did you come up with this decision? Well, I'm looking to do better for myself. I've been doing better for myself every year for several years. And in all honesty, I'm in a situation right now where I generate a massive excess. All right, and this is the and I'm not selling my soul to the devil, right? I'm not some horrible malicious person, and I've decided that this is the choice that I'm gonna make. I'm gonna grow my business. Am I gonna sit here with 3 Lamborghinis? No, I'm not gonna sit here with 3 Lamborghinis. All right, what am I gonna? Why did I come up with this decision? What is your decision making process? Right? Why did you come up with this decision? Right? Oh, I found somebody who was very capable at doing this. Right? They were very good at it. I read papers. I read published scientific papers. I collected my own data. Right? I sat there and I really thought about it. And this is the decision that I made. Then you can tell, okay? Like if you have a 30-second conversation with any individual, you can tell what their decision-making process is. Granted, effectively at any time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take very long. It'll take less than 2 minutes. All right, I'm going to go on a mystical, magical journey. Throw a Hail Mary into the middle of nowhere. Right? Right, I was born with the answer, and here is my decision. Boom, right? That's the decision making. You're cooked. All right, you're done forever. You're never going to make it anywhere. You're not even going to do 10% if you live to be 5,000. And it's very sad because it's been proven that if you have average IQ, you can learn how to do anything. Are you going to be the most creative, most, whatever? No, you're not. But at the end of the day, you can learn how to do 90% of anything. All right, maybe even more than 90%. And I use my situation as an example. All right, if you're average IQ, you could learn how to do 90% of whatever it is that I do, maybe even more, maybe even 98%. You could. It's not out of the realm of possibilities for the average person. It's not. All right, but if your decision-making process is, I don't need, I fell out of heaven at 7. I'm going to go on a magical journey with my buddy pals, and the world is a Disneyland adventure, then you're boned. Okay, you're cooked. You're done. You're not going to make it ever. You're not even going to do 10% if you live to be 5,000. All right, if you're in a situation where, I'm looking to do better for myself, right? I've collected information from somebody who is very capable. I've been reading published scientific papers. I've been collecting my own data. Right? And it is what it is. I'm looking at it in terms of an objective lens. And this is the decision that I've made. Then that's good. All right. And then you're good. You can, if you just put in effort for long enough time, you'll make it. Persevere, just continue, it'll probably take you 10, 12 years, but eventually you'll make it. You will. You can effectively learn how to do anything. All right, you can learn how to do anything if you have average IQ. 98% of anything. Whatever it is that you feel like you want to learn how to do, you can go and do it. Were you born with the answer? No, you weren't. All right, there's a very realistic possibility that when you look out into the world, you're not seeing some calculus differential equation. Chances are you're not smart enough. A majority of people are not smart enough to have an original idea. But on the other hand, a majority of people are smart enough to learn how to effectively do anything. All right, nobody cares about an opinion. If you have, for the love of God, nobody cares about an opinion, okay? Nobody cares. Your opinions aren't worth anything. If you're an idiot, you're probably going to die poor. All right, if you're legitimately poor, you're probably going to die poor. There is probably no saving. It's probably too late. Your decision-making process is set. You've been a massive pile of problems for way too long, and it's sad, okay? It's sad. It is very sad. All right, that's the situation that I'm in right now. Why did I get myself a lease property? Because I am effectively I'm generating large amounts of money. That's why I got myself a lease property. I've been looking at buying myself a new piece of land because I'm looking into growing my business. I see a reasonable opportunity to grow my business. My business has been growing every year for several years, and I would actually say that I've actually passed a point of inflection as of now. As of a couple of months ago, I've actually passed a point of inflection where the amount of money that I am making is actually going to go up on a vertical scale. That's what the data is looking like. All right, that's what it looks like when I look at the data. And to put things in a realistic perspective, maybe I make somewhere around $250,000 and $350,000 a year right now. Maybe that, something like that, somewhere between $250,000 and $350,000. Well, I would anticipate that within the next 365 days, my income ends up closer to $1 million a year than $250,000. Okay, that's what I would reasonably anticipate. And that's what I mean by my income has actually passed a point of inflection. All right, and as of right now, it doesn't, the money, it's whatever. What am I gonna do with the money? Well, I'm gonna grow my business. Like even right now, I would say I'm probably net positive. You know, my business right now realistically makes somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 a month, and that number is going up every single month. All right, it's going up every single month. It just is what it is. All right, it just is what it is. And so, what am I gonna do with the money? Right, I'm gonna grow my business. Okay, I'm gonna grow my business. I got myself a lease property. After I do this, and increase my cash flow, I'm gonna go and the big idea has been for several months now to buy my own property, to buy my own field. I'll leave a self feeder over here on this property. I'll access the equity on this property as a line of credit. I can utilize the capital. The cash flow on this property will pay for the debt service. It doesn't matter. And then I'll just go and utilize the capital, and then I will just grow my business. I'll continue to grow my business. That's the big idea. And that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.